Hi everyone, welcome back to the BookTubePrize channel. My name is Robert and I'm here to introduce 6 new entries for next year's BookTubePrize in the fiction division. The first novel is called The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. In horror movies, the final girl is the one who's left standing when the credits roll, the one who fought back, defeated the killer, and avenged her friends. The one who emerges bloodied but victorious. But after the sirens fade and the audience moves on, what happens to her? Lynette Tarkington is a real-life final girl who survived a massacre 22 years ago, and it has defined every day of her life since. And she's not alone. For more than a decade, she's been meeting with 5 other actual final girls and their therapist in a support group for those who survived the unthinkable, putting their lives back together piece by piece. That is, until one of the women misses a meeting and Lynette's worst fears are realized. Someone knows about the group and is determined to take their lives apart again, piece by piece. But the thing about these final girls is that they have each other now, and no matter how bad the odds, how dark the night, how sharp the knife, they will never, ever give up. The next novel is called Long Division by Kiese Laymon. Told in 2 separate stories and written with sharp humor and deep humanity, Long Division is an ambitious mix of contemporary Southern Gothic and Murakami-esque magical realism. In the first of the 2 stories, set in 2013, 14-year-old citoyen Sidney Coulson becomes an overnight YouTube celebrity after an on-stage meltdown during a nationally televised "Can You Use That Word in a Sentence" contest. The next day, he's sent to stay with his grandmother in a small Mississippi community where a young girl named Baze Shepherd has recently disappeared. Before leaving, Sidney is given a strange book called Long Division without an author. He learns that one of the book's main characters is also named Sidney Coulson, but Long Division is set in 1985. Sidney's 2 stories ultimately converge in the workshed behind his grandmother's house, where he discovers the key to Baze's disappearance. Intimately attuned to the confusion of young Black Americans who live under the shadow of a history that they gropingly understand, this dreamlike novel shows the work young Black people must do in a country where racialized inequality is persistent but mutable, that the past is not the present, but isn't either entirely past. The third novel is called Light Perpetual by Francis Spufford. Lunchtime on a Saturday, 1944. The Woolworths on Bexford High Street in South London receives a delivery of aluminum saucepans. A crowd gathers to see the first new metal in ages. After all, everything's been melted down for the war effort. An instant later, the crowd is gone, incinerated. Among the shoppers were 5 young children. Who were they? What futures did they lose? This brilliantly constructed novel lets an alternative reel of time run, imagining the life arcs of these 5 souls as they live through the extraordinary, unimaginable changes of the bustling immensity of 20th century London. They're intimate everyday dramas as sons and daughters, spouses, parents, grandparents, as the separated, the remarried, the bereaved. Through decades of social, sexual, and technological transformation, as bus conductors and landlords, as swindlers and teachers, patients and inmates. Days of personal triumphs and disasters, of second chances and redemption. Ingenious and profound, full of warmth and beauty, Light Perpetual illuminates the shapes of experience, the extraordinariness of the ordinary, the mysteries of memory and expectation, and the preciousness of life. The fourth novel is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Ryland Grace is the sole survivor on a desperate last-chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and Earth itself will perish. Except that right now, he doesn't know that. He can't even remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment or how to complete it. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a very, very long time, and he's just been awakened to find himself millions of miles from home with nothing but 2 corpses for company. His crewmates dead, his memories fuzzily returning, Ryland realizes that an impossible task now confronts him. Hurtling through space on this tiny ship, it's up to him to puzzle out an impossible scientific mystery and conquer an extinction-level threat to our species. And with the clock ticking down and the nearest human being light years away, he's got to do it all alone. Or does he? An irresistible interstellar adventure as only Andy Weir could imagine it, Project Hail Mary is a tale of discovery, speculation, and survival to rival The Martian, while taking us to places it never dreamed of going. The 5th novel is called Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch by Rivka Galchen. The story begins in 1618 in the German duchy of Württemberg. Plague is spreading, the 30 Years' War has commenced, and fear and suspicion are in the air throughout the Holy Roman Empire. In the small town of Leonberg, Katharina Kepler is accused of being a witch. Katharina is an illiterate widow, known by her neighbors for her herbal remedies and her successful children, including the eldest, Johannes, who is the imperial mathematician and the renowned author of the laws of planetary motion. It's enough to make anyone jealous, and Katharina has done herself no favors by being out and about and in everyone's business. So when the deranged and insipid Ursula Reinbold, or as Katharina calls her, the werewolf, accuses Katharina of offering her a bitter, witchy drink that has made her ill, Katharina is in trouble. Her scientist son must turn his attention from the music of the spheres to the job of defending his mother. Facing the threat of financial ruin, torture, and even execution, Katharina tells her side of the story to her friend and next-door neighbor, Simon, a reclusive widower imperiled by his own secrets. Drawing on real historical documents and infused with the intensity of imagination, sly humor, and intellectual fire for which Rivka Galchen is known, Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch will both provoke and entertain. The story of how a community becomes implicated in collective aggression and hysterical fear is a tale for our time. Galchen's bold new novel touchingly illuminates a society and a family undone by superstition, the state, and the moral convulsions of history. And the 6th novel is called Morningside Heights by Joshua Henkin. When Ohio-born Prue Steiner arrives in New York in 1976, she follows in a long tradition of young people determined to take the city by storm. But when she falls in love with and marries Spence Robin, her hotshot young Shakespeare professor, her life takes a turn she couldn't have anticipated. 30 years later, something is wrong with Spence. The great man can't concentrate. He falls asleep reading the New York Review of Books. With their daughter Sarah away at medical school, Prue must struggle on her own to care for him. One day, feeling especially isolated, Prue meets a man and the possibility of new romance blooms. Meanwhile, Spence's estranged son from his first marriage has come back into their lives. Arlo, a wealthy entrepreneur who invests in biotech, may be his father's last best hope. Morningside Heights is a sweeping and compassionate novel about a marriage surviving hardship. It's about the love between women and men, and children and parents, about the things we give up in the face of adversity, and about how to survive when life turns out differently from what we thought we signed up for. Okay, there's 6 new novels for next year's BookTube Prize in the fiction category. I'll be back again shortly with another introductory video. Bye, everybody.